Hello, my name's Tom Halstead. I'm a volunteer for Wyre Council and I'm here to show you one of the treasures of the Northwest, Marsh Mill, built in 1794 at the behest of bold Fleetwood Hesketh, who had the local marsh drained to produce more agricultural land. That produced more crops, and that's why he needed his mill. Let's go and have a look inside. The main crops in this area were oats, barley and wheat, but very often they came in damp from the fields. So in that case, they had to be brought inside and dried off. In this building here, the drying kiln. We're going to have a look inside. Now here we have a millstone, but not any old millstone. This is a very special stone because it's called a French burr, and it's made from stone which came from a quarry in the Paris basin. It's made of a very hard stone called metaquartzite. These pieces, you can see, came in sailing ships to Liverpool, where it was assembled as millstones. And the reason they brought these stones all that distance was because if you wanted fine white flour, you needed a French burr, and that's what this is. Right, now we're inside. You can see this beautiful brick funnel. There's nothing behind this wall, it's completely empty. And the heat generated by a peat fire in here would rise to dry the crop, which would be on the floor above. A few minutes ago we were on the floor below looking at that big brick funnel. Now we're on the floor upstairs, and if you look down here we can see where the fire was, underneath that metal deflector plate. And there's the other side of the brick wall. The heat would rise and it would heat the crop, which would be spread out on this floor here, the floor being covered in tiles which have tiny holes in it. The miller was able to turn the crop until it was dried, and when that was done, it would go out chutes in that wall over there to be hoisted to the top of the mill. Right, we're now in the cap of Marsh Mill, which is the very, very top of this 70-foot tall structure. The cap turns as the wind shifts, and inside the cap are these massive wheels which take the power from the sails and transmit it down into the mill so that the building can do its job of grinding corn. Right, now we've come down the floor from the cap, and here we have this massive wooden shaft which is taking the power from those huge wheels upstairs. The power's transferred down into the mill, and that's what makes everything work. Now we've come down the floor to find out where all that power was going from the big wooden shaft upstairs. Well, it's actually in the middle of this great big wheel here. This is the great spur wheel which is being turned by that wooden shaft. You see the giant teeth there? Well, they transfer power to other wheels, which in turn rotate the millstones, which are here in front of us. The miller was a busy man, but not always. Here someone's taken the time to carve some graffiti in the mill wall. We can see here a millstone and a stone dresser's bill which was used to make the pattern on the stone, a date 1803, and some initials. And down here a little bird, probably a pigeon, which were a nuisance in the cap of the mill and still are today. And here on the stone floor, of course, we have the heaviest pieces of equipment in the mill, the millstones themselves, which are in four enormous vats or tons. There's one here, one there, one behind me, and one just over there. Each stone, when it was new, would weigh in excess of a ton, so the weight in here was absolutely enormous. The power is coming from the great spur wheel, which we mentioned before, and then being driven through other smaller wheels. The grain itself fell into hoppers, like this over here, and then down into through what they called a shoe, which would go into the center of the stones. The grinding would take place, and then the resulting flour will be swept away to go downstairs to be processed. Now we've come down another floor to catch up with the flour which has just come out of the millstones. It comes down these chutes here into this great big sifter here. It's sifted before it goes downstairs to be sacked and weighed. Anything that doesn't make the grade can have a second chance by going up this grain elevator here. But on this floor, that wasn't just sifting that took place. The miller used this as the nerve centre of the mill, because not only could he
test the quality of the flour, see how that was going. He could go outdoors onto the gallery outside to check on the sails and also control the distance between the giant millstones.
One of the big problems that the miller had was keeping the giant millstones the right distance apart. This job was known as tentering, and originally it was done by moving giant screw like this so that the stones could be kept the right distance. Not the best job to be doing, so eventually somebody invented this thing, the centrifugal governor. As the mill gathered speed, the two globes on that device swung outwards to make sure automatically the gap was kept correct. This was a device invented for windmills, and it was eventually taken up by steam engines, so James Watt has a lot to thank windmills for.
Now we've come down another floor and the flour is reaching its journey's end, coming down these chutes here to go into sacks before being weighed and continuing its onward journey. But there's far more to be seen at Marsh Mill than you've seen today. There's a very great interest in this building, and when you're in the area, we'd love you to come and pay us a visit.